This kid got beaten so badly in school that he was hospitalized. His father told him he was an idiot. He arrived in America with less than $1,000 in his pocket and a plan that everyone around him called delusional. Today, he is the richest human being who has ever lived. And the way he built that wealth breaks almost every rule about how wealth is supposed to work. Most billionaires get rich once. They find one thing that works and they scale it. Elon Musk has gotten rich multiple times in completely different industries by betting everything he had each time, including money he didn't technically have yet. This is not a story about luck or genius or connections. It is a story about a specific, almost irrational strategy for building wealth that Musk has used over and over again. And once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. Pretoria, South Africa, 1971. Elon Musk was not a happy kid. He was awkward, obsessive, and small for his age, a combination that made him a favorite target for the school bullies. At one point, a group of boys threw him down a flight of concrete stairs and beat him unconscious. He spent a week in the hospital recovering. His home life wasn't much better. His father, Errol, was cold, demanding, and by Elon's own account, a deeply unpleasant man to be around. Musk has said in interviews that his father has a talent for making people feel small. Whatever that environment did to him psychologically, it produced something unexpected. A kid who was completely unbothered by the idea of failure. When you have already been through genuine pain, the fear of looking stupid in public loses most of its power. By age 12, Musk had taught himself to code and sold his first software, a space-themed video game called Blastar. He sold it to a computer magazine for $500. Not a life-changing amount, but proof that his brain could convert an idea into money. He filed that information away. At 17, he left South Africa for Canada, partly to avoid mandatory military service, and partly because he had decided the biggest opportunities in the world were elsewhere. He worked on a farm. He cleaned out a boiler room. He did whatever was necessary to survive. Then he got into Queen's University and eventually transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he studied economics and physics. Not one thing, two things, because Musk had already figured out something most people take decades to learn. The intersection of fields is where the real opportunities hide. He got accepted to Stanford's PhD program in energy physics in 1995. He deferred after 2 days. The internet was exploding, and he was not going to sit in a classroom while the world was being rebuilt outside. He and his brother Kimball started a company called Zip2 with $28,000 their father reluctantly contributed. Zip2 was essentially an online city guide, helping newspapers publish local business directories on the internet. Not glamorous, not world-changing, but it worked. In 1999, Compaq bought Zip2 for $307 million. Elon's share was $22 million. Most people in that position would have bought a house, maybe a nice car, invested the rest somewhere safe. Elon put $12 million of it directly into his next company. That company was X.com, an online bank. In 2000, X.com merged with a competing payments startup called Confinity. You know that company by its second name, PayPal. The PayPal story is messier than the legend suggests. There was a boardroom coup. Musk was ousted as CEO while on his honeymoon. He stayed on as a shareholder, but lost control of the company he had largely built. When eBay acquired PayPal in 2002 for $1.5 billion, Musk walked away with $180 million. And here is where the story turns into something almost hard to believe. He took that money and split it 3 ways simultaneously into 3 companies that every serious person around him told him would fail. SpaceX to build rockets and make humanity multiplanetary. Tesla to build electric cars and accelerate the shift away from fossil fuels. And Solar City, a solar energy company he would later fold into Tesla. Not 1 bet, 3 bet at the same time. In industries notorious for destroying capital, the aerospace industry had never seen a successful private rocket company. The electric vehicle industry had already killed General Motors' EV1 program and dozens of startups. Solar energy was expensive, politically complicated, and deeply unfashionable. In 2008, both SpaceX and Tesla were simultaneously on the edge of bankruptcy. SpaceX had failed 3 rocket launches in a row. 3. Each failure cost millions of dollars and months of work. The company had enough money for exactly 1 more attempt. If the 4th launch failed, SpaceX was done. At the same time, Tesla was burning cash faster than it was raising it. The financial crisis had frozen credit markets. Investors were pulling back from everything. Musk later said he was down to his last dollar, literally splitting living expenses with friends because he had put every cent he had into keeping both companies alive. The 4th SpaceX launch succeeded. 6 weeks later, Tesla closed a critical funding round on Christmas Eve, hours before the company would have had to declare bankruptcy. Both companies survived by margins so thin they barely registered. And this is the part of the story that most people skip past because it is uncomfortable to sit with. Musk did not succeed because he was lucky. He succeeded because he was willing to lose everything and had structured his psychology in a way where that possibility did not paralyze him. Most people manage risk by avoiding it. Musk managed risk by accepting total loss as a real outcome and working backward from there. If the company was going to die anyway, what was the most aggressive possible move? Usually the answer was to go faster, spend more, bet bigger. By 2012, SpaceX had its first successful cargo mission to the International Space Station, the first private company in history to do it. By 2013, Tesla's Model S had become the best-reviewed car Consumer Reports had ever tested. Not the best electric car, the best car. The wealth that followed was a consequence of the mission, not the goal of it. Tesla went from a company worth almost nothing to one worth more than Toyota, Volkswagen, and Ford combined. SpaceX became the most valuable private company in the world, worth over $200 billion. When Musk acquired Twitter in 2022, paying $44 billion for a platform most analysts thought was worth half that, the reaction was almost universal. He had overpaid. He had lost his mind. He had finally made the bet too far. Whether that turns out to be true is still being written, but the people who said that had also said SpaceX would never launch a rocket. They had said Tesla would never scale. They had said PayPal would never compete with the bank. The pattern across Musk's entire career is not genius. It is not luck. It is not connections. He had none when he arrived in North America with less than $1,000. The pattern is this: pick the problem that most people believe is impossible. Put in more than you can afford to lose. Ignore the timeline everyone else gives you. Stay in the game long enough for the math to work. Most people fail at step one. They pick problems that feel achievable, safe, validated. Musk starts with impossible and works backward to how. The kid who got thrown down the stairs in Pretoria, the one his own father thought was an idiot. He is currently building rockets designed to land on Mars. He has not stopped yet. And if history is any guide, the people telling him it cannot be done are exactly the ones who will be most surprised when it is.